Call the meeting of the Post Community School District Board of Education to order. Welcome all visitors in the room. We have several, and everybody out there in TV land. Can I get approval of the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Motion by Amy, second by Larry to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same opposed, same sign. Okay. Carries. Do we have any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
I just got a couple questions around the junior high basketball coach that we can bring up. Yeah, and I'm just time-wise, what time will practice be run and how does that affect your time in the office?
Typically, I think 3:45-ish.
45, because with the junior high schedule this year, we've built some time to get them going to practice because we always have a gym issue, space time.
Right.
So they're getting out so they can get changed and be ready to go between 3:30 and 3:45. Is pretty much what we're trying to do, is get them out so that we have less crossover with the high school once we get gym issues. So, but they're usually 3:45, somewhere between then and 4 they get rolling.
And all the games are 4:15, 4:30, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there be any issues with your office time?
I don't think so. You know, I think I wouldn't do it if I didn't think I could allocate the time for it. So, Brendan said he'd help me out if I needed some help.
2-point takedown.
Okay.
That's correct for basketball.
I think all of us will kind of help out just to help. We know there's a need.
Sure.
Yeah.
How long a season is it?
It's over on December 19th, so it's right before Christmas.
Okay, we don't have any items to be removed. Take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Motion by Amy, second by Eric to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Superintendent's report.
I have 3 things to cover tonight. The first quarter ends next Thursday, October 20th. We have a 1:30 out on Thursday and then no school on Friday for professional development for our staff. We are going to have a vulnerability assessment. And what this is a safety grant from the federal government. And we're going to have a company come in and evaluate each of our buildings. And they're going to do it on November 30th and December 1st. And basically, through this assessment, they're going to give us some priority items for fixing or updating for safety within our buildings. And this is a result of the Uvalde issue that happened last May. But whenever things like this happen, the federal government comes up with grant money to help schools or whatever organization to help with their safety or whatever that needs to be improved upon. And so each building, the good news is each building can get up to $50,000 in federal money, but it has to meet the requirement of the assessment. So we'll see what the assessment says, and basically it goes through 2024, so we've got plenty of time to make a plan and get things installed. And right now, I really don't know what they're going to tell us, but we'll find out and I'll let you know. The good news is both preschool buildings do qualify for this also, so we can upgrade things up there too. So it's called the safety grant that we're working with. We also got, we're getting radios, and Corey can maybe talk about this later when he visits, but each building gets a radio that has a frequency for the police department and the local law enforcement. So each radio is worth about $4,000, and they're just handheld ones, and we got them for free. But we can coordinate better with law enforcement on those radios too. So Yeah, so they were pretty generous this last little while with some of this, some of these items. Certified enrollment, we did take a first look at it. We are up a few kids, not a lot. I'll give you more details in the next few days, but at least we didn't drop like we did the last 2 years. And that's significant because that helps determine our funding for the next fiscal year. So I'm not going to say exactly where we're at because I think we're still working through a few things, but the initial report is that we are up a little bit when it comes to our certified enrollment. So that's all I had.
Does that include the alternative school?
Yes.
So the
Yes.
alternative school and all the.
Yep. It's there's quite a list of all the types of kids that we do count. And so some kids are, some of the students are a partial of a full. So you might see a 0.3 or 0.4 or 0.5, but that comes to make the total. And I'll explain that when I get kind of those final numbers together. And because you're going to see like roughly, I don't know, 675.2 or something along those lines. But that's a combination of our alternative school, our ELL numbers. The preschoolers are half, 0.5, our 4-year-old preschool. So all those numbers combined to come up with a total certified number for us to use. So.
And is the alternative school included in that
Yes.
safety study? For when they come through and do the assessment?
I think we have to own the building. We don't own that building. And so on the state report, you have to identify the buildings you own. And so we own both preschool buildings and these 2 buildings. We don't own that up there. So that's what disqualified that.
Is this the first time that vulnerability assessment's been done?
Not to this in depth, yeah. And this, again, doesn't cost us anything. This is a company that has been contracted through the state of Iowa. And so it would be interesting to see what they come up with for us.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Duggar. Which one of the principals want to go? Jenny? Yep.
So that's a lot of data right in front of you, but I'm not going to read through all of it because we'd be here all night, and I know you don't want to do that. But so we just completed our elementary FAST screening, and that's a universal screening that we do 3 times a year. We do it for literacy, we do it for math, and we do it for behavior. And on one side of the paper where it says FAST reading assessment, % proficient, and on the other side it says FAST math assessment. And you'll see there's blank percentages because there's winter and spring where I'll add the information for winter and spring. But we have them broken down into different subsets, and that's something that we started doing last year as we were going through the Fast for Success training. So I have our assessment data, but then one of the things that I've been doing the beginning of the year, I've met with each grade level team, and I work with them on writing goals. So not just assessing, but then writing a fall to winter goal for literacy and math, because as you can see, we're not proficient. And then also what action steps they're going to do in order to get our students more proficient. With our training, we want to get them at 70% or higher in the different subsets. And with our training, we know we want to start at that first subset test and then work our way down. So for instance, like in reading, we want to focus on, if you were like in kindergarten, we want to focus on onset sounds and then go to letter sounds and then general reading. So they're wanting to set their goals to really focus on that and maybe do a core intervention to really boost that type of learning first. So I included on one side our literacy goals and their action steps, and on the other side our math goals and our action steps, just to kind of see what we're working on this first semester. And then I'll let you know after winter testing how we did with our goals, and then once we accomplish those goals, then we'll set new goals according to our data in the winter. So do you have any questions about that? It's a lot of stuff to look at. One thing, just to kind of compare to last year, because I did bring our scores last year to kind of show you, one of the things we really worked on early childhood, we jumped into the preschool. So kindergarten last year was 16% proficient. This year we were 23%. So our work in preschool really made a difference. So they came in more ready. That was one of the things we really wanted to work on. The other thing, as a building, we were 34% proficient in reading, and we're 38 this year. So as a building, we went up just a little bit. So we hope to see more than that, but we're not there yet. So we're still working there. The other thing you'll notice, it's a little darker because I did highlight. We're looking for that over 70% in those sub-tests. So I highlighted over 70%. So we have some areas where our sub-tests are over 70%. And you'll notice in 6th grade reading, the word segmenting and the phonics and fluency, our 6th grade is very close. So hopefully by winter testing, we can get our 6th grade where they need to be, which tells us that we're doing the right thing in the lower grades. So, and that will make their life a little easier in the junior high and high school. And this year we're working on math because we're in a training with math. So we're hoping to boost our math a little bit more. Otherwise, everything's going great. Your turn.
Thanks. Okay, junior, senior high, just upcoming activities already at the end of the fall seasons. Conference cross country is Thursday at Luena. If you've been following any of the Postville running Facebook stuff, we've got some high school students that are certainly making some moves and potentially looking like they could do some qualifying for state and hopefully do well at conference this Thursday. Junior high program has got lots of kids in it. RJ Olson's doing a great job with them. We've got really good interest in that. It's nice to see those kids finding something that they want to do. FFA had a great time, attended the National Dairy Expo in Madison last week. I talked with some of the students. They said it's pretty amazing to see not only across the U.S. but across the world bringing in animals to Madison and just kind of show the variety and the widespread of the dairy industry, and obviously living here in Northeast Iowa, we're certainly aware of that. Volleyball has pink out Thursday night, right? Thursday night, same night as Parents' Night. So always a good event to support the pink out, and I know there's going to be lots of pink because they ordered a lot of t-shirts. Just want to talk a little bit about football, a couple good things. Number one is I want to just make a note, the respect for the Waterloo Columbus coaches and team and how they handled Friday night. Very respectful group of people. Also, it was reported to me today that we had some very good comments from some parent interactions with our students that by far our group of kids coming in were the most respectful that they've met or found all year. So as we continue to just celebrate things within our programs, I think that needs to be noted. That was a text to one of our, to a parent from another person at Waterloo that they probably, I think, handed out the sandwiches after the game or something when they always share that. So good to hear that those get back to us because we always talk with our kids about representing themselves in our school well, and they have always done that. It is a new redistricting year for football. And what that basically means is as we do our count, we look at what they call our beds number, which is the number of freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, and that number gets lined up with all the other schools in the state, and then they start chunking them off in class 4A, 3A, 2A, 1A. And that's based upon how many teams they need in each district make everything work out. So people do, those numbers do change sometimes as far as what district you're in. Right now, we know that we're gonna have one of our highest numbers we've ever had. We're right around the 70 for juniors, 70 for sophomores, and 58, I think, for freshmen. And so we're eager to see what that does. We are also, lots of conversations going on in the state in regards to unique schools. I know there was a school last week that canceled their season, and they're a very similar school with unique demographics such as us. We don't know if we can help with that conversation. We are putting a bunch of data together that is getting taken to some of the representatives for the Northeast Iowa to kind of speak on our behalf a little bit, but there are lots of schools that have similar situations, and that is we've got lots of unique kids that haven't been here. We're putting in all kinds of factors and data in there to make sure that they understand that their methodologies and count systems don't just work as easy as they think. And I know they've had conversations in the past, but it seems to just kind of get, okay, we had the conversation and let's go back to the way we've always done it. So there's lots of schools that are seeing some struggles. I think one guy kind of made it, said, you know, the homecoming and parent night schools, that's the ones you want to sign up for your homecoming and parent night to guarantee a win. And so it's not just unique schools, it's a lot of schools that are struggling with getting kids involved. So we are having conversations. Mr. Corsby's had a couple meetings with some individuals, talking with them to make sure that our voice is being heard, and we're going to continue to put some more data towards them. He has I think it's the Northeast Conference AD meeting this week on Wednesday in Waterloo. So I know that information is going to be taken to them, and hopefully they have a meeting after that, I believe, that will hopefully go to the board to see if anything can, you know, just make it know that we're not all the same, and to kind of treat us all the same is challenging on all ends. And we just want that to be put out there, and I think it's the right thing to do to speak up for our kids. And so we've got some data that we're crunching through to help kind of give our demographic story a little bit more than what our beds number means, because I would see with our enrollment this year, almost all of the kids that we've brought in the high school are what we would consider our newcomer kids, meaning they're coming straight from out of the country. Some no education for multiple years, no English, and they're counting as, oh, they should be playing a sport. That might be the last thing on their concern. They're trying to, you know, come into a new country and survive. And so there's a lot of factors that are preventing those kids from being able to participate. So that's just something that we're working on. Last week, thanks to Ms. Moss, she brought in the Safe Schools program. Students should wear their seatbelts, basically talking about safe driving and seatbelts. And we're going to continue. This goes on all year with different things. Kids making pledges. We had students out recording who came into the parking lot without their seatbelts on for about 3 days in a row. I made the staff very nervous, as long as some of the students weren't sure what was going on. But it's all part of a Safe Schools program that is free of charge. It does bring in, and kids get awards and gift cards for Amazon if they are pledging to wear their seatbelts and try to drive safe, and we want to continue to promote that. I didn't see this in your board packet. I thought I'd given it.
I sent that in the weekly letter.
Oh, okay, in the weekly letter. So if you didn't take a look at it, this is was our NICC report card from last year. We always like to celebrate because we really do a good job, and Ms. Moss does a lot of it, of opening up basically the course handbook at NICC, and we encourage our kids to take as many college courses as they possibly can. And so last year's course, and that would be juniors and seniors that typically take these, accumulated 543 credits, 23 different courses that involved 76 different students. And we have also a career coach. Sarah Beeman is the new one this year, and she's in our building 2 days a week, meeting with our students if they're having problems with their college classes or talking about careers in their future. It's a connection directly with not just NICC, but they also help say, hey, we've got these programs, but other places. So it's not certainly run through NICC, and it's changed formats a little bit depending on how the state's funded it. But I think we do a good job with really breaking down the barriers for kids to take these courses. It used to be, and I know other schools do have minimum 3.2 GPA, et cetera, but welding certificate program, those are the kids that might not carry a 3.0. And so we don't have a lot of those regulations because we want to make sure that those are opportunities, because we've got kids that I know have that certificate, are working up at Lumaline and down at Moyni's, I guess, isn't it, right? And those are great paying jobs without a high school degree, and they're making good money, and that I think is, what? Yeah, without a college degree. And so that certificate program's a big one. We usually have 10 or 15 kids complete that every year, and it just provides opportunities. So those are always good numbers, and they didn't put it on here, but I think last year they put on the cost savings for the families as well, which was, I think, an important factor for that. And the last thing, November 11th is our big Veterans Day Assembly starting at 10 a.m. Very prideful in that event. Ms. Shea does a great job getting it put together along with our Junior High Student Council. And so that is on November 11th at 10 a.m.
Tomorrow, we also have Mad About Money.
Correct.
Which is a combined effort between grades 6th through 8th grade.
Financial literacy.
Financial literacy assembly for the middle grades.
So,
Is there anything you need from the school board to help with when you're looking at the redistricting and the process? Is there anything that we can be doing to help?
I don't know. I
Or-
think most of those, it's, they know what, because this isn't a new thing. It's been a conversation multiple times over this redistricting. Putting some formula together that would, balance out some of the schools, and I know they've done it. They've tried to do it with free and reduced rates and other things like that, and they just haven't figured out a way to make it, I don't know, equitable in their mind. And so, Postville's had a football tradition, and it's been a struggle for the last 5 or 6 years, and that's, I think, the most frustrating thing is we know what we could do if we weren't sitting up in these, but there's nothing. I mean, we're so far from 8-man at this point with our numbers, and our numbers don't reflect what they believe we should be getting out of participation. But we've also talked with our kids in some different assemblies about getting involved, because we've got to show the effort that we are trying. And we know our kids are trying. I mean, they're out there on the courts. They don't quit, whether it's the volleyball, basketball, football field. The minute you say, well, what do we want to do? Do we need to cancel? No, we're going out there. We'll do it. But, it's continue getting recruiting. Our little kids programs are getting stronger. We're seeing some wonderful success in the junior high volleyball, junior high football, and I think we've got to figure out, continue to work on ways and look at it a little differently on our side even to continue to support those kids and get them excited about being involved. And, last year the 8th graders got a really cool plaque that showed that they were involved in 5 or more activities in their junior high to support that kind of thing and say, hey, we need you out for everything. So we've also got to just show that we're motivating and we're doing different things with our kids to try to get that. But I don't think there's a lot, letters of support that are going to make much of a difference in my mind. I don't know what Mr. Duggar thinks with those kind of organizations. I don't think there's a lot of.
Each sport has their own advisory committee, and they're the ones that really call the shots. So I think what you're going to present, or Zach will present, will be what they exactly need to hear, and they know, they understand. They got to make the decision to move forward with it.
I think looking across, you look at the scores every week across the state, and it's not just us. There are some very lopsided, every class. So there's issues out there, and I think it's time they wake up and start paying attention to what you're bringing forward. So I appreciate the effort of you guys doing that, but consider if there's something that we can do to help, let us know. Because it needs to come from more than just, one voice or 2 voices in the school district, to know that we're all watching this.
there's multiple situations, and it's getting to the point, there's some kids that they're really gonna get hurt.
You know, that's the biggest thing we look at is, we know our kids can mentally handle it. Physically is not the best thing for them, especially when you look at something like football. We know we've got some good eighth graders coming up, but normally they get 2 years of JV before you put them onto that varsity field, and we're having to, hey, do you think you can do this? Well, that's not going, they're running scared. And that's when kids get hurt, is when they're not able to go and play it the way they want to play it, and it's just out of necessity. We've seen it with girls basketball for how many years, you know, there's freshmen playing varsity, and it's, you can only take that so long until you lose some of that. And yeah, it is across the state. There is a lot of haves and have-nots is what it seems like. And I know there's ebb and flows in athletics, and I've been around this 22 years to see it, and as a coach, but it seems to me that we've got a lot of schools that are really struggling in a lot of programs, and you lose kids wanting to go out because, you know, junior high started winning. We had that free physical day. We had 5 kids that wanted to go out for junior high football because they're seeing how much fun their friends are, but they didn't go out at the beginning of the year because it was like, oh, I don't want to go out and get beat. And it's like, well, no, you can't just pick and choose when you want to do it. You've got to be in it, you know. And some of them were not out because of the physical. So, but that's the kind of thing, is people start seeing winning, they get excited, and that's. But how do you get over that hump? That's the key factor there. It's like you just got to get that 1 or 2, and it's, you know, we're ready to go. We can start building some things. So, but it's hard to do that right now when you're playing, you know, the majority of our high school varsity team is juniors and sophomores. And those sophomores, while they could, you know, depending on 1A, 2A, but they're playing up, and they're just, God bless them, but they're not physically ready. And it's hard, you know, they're out there doing what they can do, but the knowledge isn't there and the skill isn't there yet. But out of putting a team on the field, we don't really have a choice. And we don't want to disappoint those teams we've committed in our district, because that's not fair to them to lose a game either. And that was tough enough last year when we had to do that. And it's like, you know, where are we at? And we meet pretty much every Monday, Mr. Corsby and I, and we talk with Mr. Johnson just to make sure we're still good and kids are healthy and we're ready to go for the next Friday night, because we want to make sure that we're being informed and making the best decision for the safety of our kids, because the losing isn't, it's the safety aspect. And when some of these teams, if you've seen them, I'm not sure where they're getting those kids, but they're big.
Okay, thank you, principals. Move on to the business official report.
Can I add something quick? Just pigtail off your comments. Yesterday, I'm the youth wellness coordinator at the wellness center up here. Yesterday, we had a 6th grade volleyball tournament, and we had high school kids, junior high kids volunteering and they stayed all afternoon. They helped tear down, they cleaned up, they did phenomenal. And we had some parents involved too. So I just wanted to acknowledge that there's some positive things going on. Plus, they did well. We have mostly 6th graders, but we couldn't fund a 5th grade because there's not enough girls, so they had to move up. But I don't think there's that many 5th graders either to pick from. So it's looking better.
All right. The certified annual report, treasurer's report, was in the board packet. And I just want to hit on a couple of highlights, and then if you have questions. The general fund actually increased by $960,000, which the majority of was due to the ESSER fund payments that came out. We were able to supplant some things for the last year and a half, and that's allowed us not to have to cut into with the declining enrollment over the last 2 years. So that has helped our general fund. The student activity fund did go down by about half of its balance, which is about $20,000. And that's been a struggle. I've had some conversations with Mr. Corsby now and Mr. Duggar about what we can do. Cost of officials are going up and gate receipts are not going up. So the offset of those things, along with the additional requirements of safety and shot clock things. Those things are expensive, and so they're eating away at our student activity fund. The management fund did go down quite a bit, but that was a planned tax reduction last year, so we were expecting that. The Save and Pepple funds ended about where we thought. There wasn't any big surprises there. The debt service did look like it had a huge increase, but that was just the timing because on July 1st, there was a bond payment. So it looked like it increased, but we had just been depositing money throughout the year, and then that went away. The enterprise fund, which is the food service fund, had a major increase, one like we've not seen, but there were a lot of grants and additional funding available because of supply chain issues and the cost of food. So, and actually they just put out another round of grant opportunities where we can possibly receive another $8,000 to help our food service program as well. So that is where those stand. So, any questions at this point? There'll be more detailed information, obviously, when the audit report comes later in the year, but.
And I'll put a report together for the board too, probably November, just to highlight specifically some of these items and then show you some trend line data, which is important for the board to know. So I'll do that next month.
We can move on to the bus purchase.
So Glenn had been looking for quite a while, and as I said in the letter, the availability of buses is pretty tough right now. And Glenn felt that this was a good one that I think was in an urban situation, so there's not a lot of dust involved with the 23,000 miles it has on it. We're very happy with Thomas buses. We bought several of those, and we can pay for this out of capital projects. And we also have a trade-in value on bus 7. So, so I recommend that we purchase this bus at this time and get it into service fairly soon.
I question going with the LP. You got another fuel source, just another whole layer of headaches.
Did you want to comment about that, Glenn?
We can get our fuel to go off. Most of the fuel places around here are willing to work with us or provide us a tank, even though put one in now if we want now plus one. Yeah, I know it's another source, but.
You don't just pull into Quick Start and get LP. That's,
Yeah, I mean, that's why every district doesn't go completely LP. You have to keep some diesels around. I mean, you can't drive to Des Moines and back and tank it on an LP bus. But just the cost, cheaper fuel and everything. You can't find an LP bus because everybody's buying them.
Was there many options of diesel buses out there or not? No.
Not many of them, like, ones you're gonna find that are used, you got a lot of miles on.
Yeah.
I mean, you can find them, but, yeah, they're not.
I mean, I guess personally, I wouldn't be against trying one, see how it works. I mean,
A lot of people like them, the fact that they heat up faster in the wintertime, they don't take so long to heat up. A lot of districts don't even have to plug them in the winter. It's just, easier.
okay, there's no other discussion. I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the purchase of the bus as recommended.
I'll second that.
Motion by Greg, second by Amy, to approve the bus purchase. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passes. Move on to line item 8, request for modified supplemental amount and supplemental aid for a negative special education balance during the 21-22 school year in the amount of $231,242.64.
So every year, we have a special ed count, and that basically sets your funding for the year in front of you. And depending on how that count goes and what our needs are for kids, because IEPs require a certain level of programming for teachers or support staff or transportation. And so we've been very consistent with our budget. It did drop a little bit this year, but this is a typical expenditure that we need to cover each year. And again, this is something that we get the spending authority so it doesn't hurt the district. It doesn't negatively impact the district. It's more of a formality to say that the board recognizes that we do have a negative balance, but again, it just depends on the kids who are here and the staffing we do have to teach them. And this does include kids that do go to alternatives programs and other school systems. We do have some kids that do attend, that live in the Postville district, that attend in other towns in Iowa. So that's a part of this also.
These funds have already been expended, so the cash has already been depleted. It just allows us to get the spending authority back so we can use that in programs where we originally were expecting to spend the authority.
Okay, if there's no other discussion, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the request for modified supplemental amount aid.
I'll second.
Motion by Amy, second by Eric. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Move on to the first reading of the updated board policies.
So this was a lot. Sorry about that. But they came to us with about 20 policies that need to be updated, mostly due to 802, the law they put in a couple years ago, basically for more parental, not choice, but more parental input when it comes to some of our curriculum items. And so a lot of those had to do with those. And then I put the description of each one. So there's a lot there, and if you have questions, feel free to ask, but try to follow what's been given to us from the School Board Association to implement to make sure we're meeting the law. It's a two meeting we have to approve each time. There's 2 readings of it, so.
Entertain a motion on the first reading of the updated board policies.
I move to approve the updated board policies.
I'll second it.
Motion by Greg, second by Amy to approve the board policies. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to information discussion from Elmkey County Hazard Mitigation Plan with Corey Snicker. Welcome, Corey.
First off, before I get on the hazard mitigation plan, I'll actually discuss a couple things on the school grant program. I just actually participated in the assessment that was done for Eastern Allen McKee Schools buildings, their high school / junior high, and also the elementary school. Went real well. Actually, they finished up in the morning. They didn't even go into the afternoon. The gentleman that did the assessment is a contractor. He actually was out of Davenport, was a 29-year veteran of law enforcement down there. Was real good to work with. Worked with the school as far as doing their priorities and stuff like that. I can't guarantee you're gonna have the same person, but I was very impressed with the professionalism and the job that he did. It's actually, the assessment is pretty simple. Initially, it's a lot of questions. They actually might put this online, which will help you guys out because they're gonna come in and ask a bunch of questions that kind of be nice to know ahead of time so you could have the information available. And then he goes around, does an assessment of the buildings inside and out, takes a lot of pictures. and things like that. So again, they're not there to judge you, they're not there to tell you you're doing this right or doing wrong, they're there just to literally assess where you're at within as a school with the questions they've got and stuff like that. So again, was a real easy process as far as I was concerned, and again, interested to see the results of that. The other thing was about the radios. Obviously, with this governor's grant, each school is eligible for an emergency radio. I know Tim was part of the discussion that we had with the sheriff's office and the PDs on that. And again, this will be a radio that basically should have a big red button on it, if you want to call it a panic button. That's what it really is. That basically, once it's hit, it'll open up a mic, basically for, I believe, X amount of time, maybe 20 or 30 seconds. So you do want to make sure you put it somewhere so somebody can't touch it as a joke or think it's funny, because you will alert law enforcement that something's going on and stuff like that. So it's a radio that has a great function, but just want to make sure it's accessible to the right people, but not to the people that don't need to be accessing it. The only big thing they're trying to work out right now is what frequency they're going to use. As far as that, because what you guys don't want, or more like wherever it's going to be, is the frequency they use obviously can't be a frequency that's used on a normal basis. Otherwise, it's kind of like having a scanner in your office. You're going to hear all the traffic and stuff. So that's the one thing they are working on. They're not too concerned about the radio being down here as far as reception. They're looking at using the new SATE system, which is ISIX. The only buildings they're really kind of concerned about obviously is New Albin and Lansing, because of topography and stuff. But they're pretty confident there should not be any issues with reception between Postville and Walk-On with the ISIX tower and Walk-On. I believe there's one that's going to be in Fayette, or one in Fayette County too. So again, some great things for the school on school safety and stuff. So the main reason I came here today is I don't know if anybody was super involved with this, but we have what's called a hazard mitigation plan for the county. It's a requirement by the federal government, by FEMA, in order to be eligible for certain grant money that is made available after disaster. This is not grant money for a disaster. This is money that comes available after disaster in order to do, obviously, what it's stating is mitigation actions. We did this plan. I came on board in 2016. They just started the process, so that was my welcome aboard. The plan is basically includes all 6 cities in the county, and then the 3 school districts were included in this, because you all are basically eligible for federal assistance in the mitigation programs. The plan is only good for 5 years, and so when we did this back in 2017, 2018, this was really a new build of the plan. It basically was being built from the ground up. Upper Explorerland out of Decorah was able to be hired to do the work for us. We had grant money for that. Fortunately, I got grant money to pay them to do it again, and I was fortunate to actually get the same person that built the plan back in 2017. So we're working together, which worked out really good. She did a great job building the plan. We've got a good relationship, so I'm very confident. And we're actually doing this plan in half the time. We're actually going to have this ready for submission by early next spring, so our plan expires in 2023. But this is truly an actual review of the plan. I'm going to hand out real quick, or I'll just pass around if you want to just take a copy. What happened back in 2017 was all 3 school districts elected to basically do what's called a authorized representation, which basically is you authorize myself and Upper Explorerland to represent you all as far as developing the plan, and you did not have to be part of the actual planning process. And so what I wanted to talk about tonight is 3 things. Number one, we can kind of look at, again, basically all 3 school districts had the same mitigation actions. We'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit. The other thing I'm here tonight is to find out, you have 2 options again. We basically you all can look at basically authorizing someone else to do the work for you, or if you want somebody to be involved in the planning process, you're more than have the opportunity to do that. In order for a jurisdiction to be included in the hazard mitigation plan, either A, they have to be part of the planning committee, or B, they have to have a signature, an authorized signature, authorization representation letter for the packet and stuff. So we'll talk real quick about the mitigation things on there. Obviously, again, these were basically just kind of across the board for all school districts. One of the things, obviously, that we would look at probably incorporating into this new plan, given the time frame for the grant money and stuff with this new safety initiative, is stuff tied directly probably to the safety grant. Because all all 3 school districts in the county, public school districts are eligible. They've all signed up for this. Also, St. Pat's has signed up for it, but they're not they can't be part of the hazard mitigation plan because they are a private school, so they're not eligible for federal funding, but they're also part of the plan too. Unfortunately, our Jewish schools were not eligible because they're not state accredited, and that was where they fell through the cracks, unfortunately, and stuff. You had to be accredited through the state. Obviously, a lot of parochial schools are, but they were not, given their circumstances in 3. So one of the things we probably would look at is, again, just, kind of incorporating those, programs that are within the safety grant. Just give you a heads up, obviously, there's $50,000 per building. There's the actual radios per building. There's the assessments being done that gives you an idea of where you're strong, where you may need some improvements in your security of your facilities. There is some stuff, and I haven't seen a lot on this. There's some digital software stuff that's going to be made available and some mapping opportunities that will be available from the state, and that's going to be through the Department of Public Safety. And then they're also going to create a government safety bureau or have something in that. So, so my question tonight is if you guys want to basically move forward with just doing representation again, or if you want to have somebody part of the actual planning committee.
Does anybody want to volunteer to be on the mitigation committee? Okay, I say we move forward with you representing us, Corey.
So I guess the question I have, I don't know if this needs to be specifically on your agenda, if you need to have, because obviously what happened is we would need to have the board approval, if that needs to be on your agenda specifically stating that. If that needs to be, then someone can come back in November. I believe 14th is your next school board meeting. If I come back, I just would need to be near the beginning of the agenda, because I have to be in New Albin that night to do some hazard mitigation planning up there. And as you can imagine, that's kind of like one end to the other end. It's a long drive just from walk-on to get to New Albin, let alone from here and stuff. But we'll, either myself or probably be me, or maybe we'll just have it on your agenda and just get a signature. And all it really is just a signature from, once you guys approve it, a signature from the board president saying, yep, and then basically just date it, and then we'll include that in our information we send to FEMA once they approve it. So do you have any questions about the mitigation actions or any thoughts or ideas off the top of your head right now? I'm being a lot kinder to you. I was in Harpers Ferry for a city council meeting doing some evacuation shelter planning. I was there for an hour. So, and I'm going to Postville tonight, city council. So if you want to have something exciting tonight, yeah, be there later tonight. So, and stuff, but.
We'll put it on the agenda for November.
Okay, sounds good. If you have any questions, obviously y'all know how to get hold of me. Please reach out. Otherwise, I appreciate the time. Definitely, I'm excited for the school initiative stuff. So, did someone?
So will you give that to me then?
Oh yeah, I've already made a copy. So
I'll put it on the agenda for November.
there you go. Okay. So yeah, definitely. If you have any questions on anything, again, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, thank you very much, and you guys have a good rest of the night. So, all right.
Thank you, Corey. Let's move on to information discussion of the community garden. The city has been approached. Somebody wants to buy the community garden, which is currently up by Bacon Concrete. And I think I can't hardly speak out of turn because the city is going to discuss this after our meeting, at their meeting, but there's been discussion of the school possibly letting the community use some piece of property for the garden. I believe we were thinking over towards the Jewish synagogue, that grass area. Glenn come up with a phenomenal idea of using that over there. And then we can, I figured you were here for a reason, Glenn, so I got to throw you in there. And then it kind of kills two birds with one stone. We can remedy our problem of the parking lot synagogue area because the community members would need a place to park for the garden. So first, I think we'd probably have to go with, is the board interested in letting the community use a piece of property? The community garden right now is roughly right at an acre. And that's roughly what they're kind of looking at. There's currently a fence around it, and there's talk about moving that fence down here to enclose the garden so, pesky animals aren't in there taking their hard work. So what's your guys' thoughts on the community garden?
Is there water access for them there? Would there need to be? Is there water access for the present gardens spot?
I don't know about up there, but there is. Okay. Okay, so this comes into a whole nother conversation. About 5 years ago, the city approached us about having fire hydrants in the back of the facility. Right now, there's just one fire hydrant for the whole complex. And they had talked about maybe having water from up by the Lutheran Church all the way back to our bus garage. And so that way it's a circular water pressure where water could be pressurized in the whole system, and possibly put in 2 or 3 fire hydrants behind the school, I think is kind of what we were thinking or talking about. So this might all play into this plan, because I think if there's going to be any paved area up there, there has to be utility work done before that can happen. So this might be a chance to maybe move forward with that. So I know that's a whole nother discussion, but there's a lot of moving parts here. But I guess Glenn and I talked about, we want to make sure that this isn't a burden onto the school system, like a long-term burden. Like we don't want to have it and all of a sudden we've got to maintain it or mow it or use whatever to keep the area updated. I mean, Glenn and I talked about that today a little bit. So I don't know if there's an agreement with I don't even know what organization. Is this a private organization or is this a?
As far as what I've understood, it's a group of people from the community that the place is there, they can use it. I believe Mary Engstrom, she has a program with a bunch of our students after school. So actually, we do have a group of the school that does go up and use it, and then I think they bring back some of the produce.
It's Mary Engstrom and C.C. Mueller that does it, and it's through 4-H. So it's through the 4-H program, and then there's some of our students that are part of it, and then they bring the produce back to our kitchen, and then our students are fed that produce.
I think what we could do is maybe come up with some general guidelines and responsibilities of that group and of the school system to make sure that we're not overly burdened with this program, I guess.
So the parking situation would continue to be our property or city?
It would continue to be on our property, but through the subcommittee's conversations with the synagogue people, they are willing to do any and all work to make that into a parking lot. I mean, they'll foot the bill. So I know me and Tim had discussed possibly if they would possibly help us with getting the water run also. I don't see that being a cheap endeavor, but I'm amazed there's only one water hydrant on this property. I think it would be very influential and beneficial to us to have some more. I think that's probably a project we should put towards the top of our list. In fact, talking to my dad, and he was on the school board 25 years ago, he said that issue got brought up then. And he says it hasn't been remedied. So I think it's going to be like Mr. Duggar said, it's going to be a lot of different entities coming together, but I think in the end, it's going to work out very well for a lot of people. And I agree, make sure it's not a burden on us. I mean, but I guess I would hope the garden club or community would, go ahead, Larry.
Whose responsibility would it be for the water? Would the city put it in at their cost?
That's what I don't,
Cost, is it?
that's a question we'd have to ask them. I don't know as far as, water main wise, how that works.
I know the fire hydrant here, we were responsible for part of it, bringing the water down to where that hydrant is out here, yeah. I don't think we had to pay for all of it, but we had to pay for part of it. And it's gotta be at least an 8-inch pipe, probably.
I think their idea is they want to tie from here to there, so let's say they have a water main break, they could utilize this to backfeed some areas, but let's say we had a fire, we could actually pull water from 2 different sources in this direction. We don't have decent water in our practice, we could utilize their water.
it's just, I mean, if there's interest in going forward, then I think we can reach out to the city and different people to find out what this is all gonna take. I mean, definitely not gonna be something that's gonna be remedied right now, but it'd be nice if we could have it remedied possibly by spring, I guess, just for the garden part, the parking part. Yeah, that's.
No, yeah, we're not going to get anything done until the spring
No,
anyway. So
no.
I think this is a good, if the board is okay with this, we'll move forward with conversations with several people and see what we come up with.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good idea to have a conversation with the city, with the garden club, and with the synagogue again, the Jewish representatives, to make sure that, you know, what the parking lot needs to be, so it will accommodate their needs, plus the garden club, and then enough space for the garden club.
Wait, Glenn and I talked about making sure we make it bigger than it needs to be, just for future growth, possibly.
Correct.
And there's a patch of trees up there that really need to go, so we can maybe work on that and get that cleaned up and get it looking really good and for the long term.
But this could be a good community effort, joining the three together and working together, you know, for the betterment of the whole unit.
Yep.
I think we need more, definitely need more information, especially around the water side.
I look at our home ec, Miss Rupert's always getting groceries. Our FFA kids could start the plants in the greenhouse in the spring. I think there's a lot of applications. We've tried different gardens around here. Out Glenn's back office one time, the potatoes were growing out there, and it's never worked because it's just not the right spaces, and so I think it would be a lot of opportunities for kids and community involved.
Yeah, if we can utilize that greenhouse better for starter plants, et cetera, and then work with that group and fundraise with the plant sale, those kinds of things, I think that's a very good positive.
Okay, sounds like we got positive information moving forward. And okay, we'll go, let's move on to number 12, discussion with the thespian troupe. Derek.
My name's Derek Frederick, and this is my wife, Ann Frederick, and we are the volunteer directors for our school's thespian troupe. And we just wanted to, we asked for a few minutes tonight to speak to you kind of about who we are and what we do.
And we are looking to increase leadership opportunities for students, so we'll start with our officers introducing themselves.
Hello, my name is Audrey, and I am the current activities officer for Troop 417.
My name is Caitlin, and I am the current social media officer or publicity officer.
My name is Claire, and I am the current fundraising officer.
My name is Ivana Lois, and I'm the current advocacy troop officer.
My name is Cole, and I'm just currently a part of the Troop 417.
My name is Raven Hoppy, and I'm also a part of the troop 417.
My name is Jesse Maldonado, and I'm a current member of the thespian troupe.
My name is Davey Mookson, and I'm a proud member of the thespian troupe, 417. Yep. Thank you for coming.
So, you guys may be wondering, what is Thespians? And Thespians is an honor society for all activities related to drama, speech, play, and theater, and other things. So far, we are involved with the community. We do lots of community service. We help with the Easter egg hunt every year. And in the past, we've done trunk or treat, as well as community presentations for the PEO and Club of the Hour. This year, for activities, we are trying to have one thespian group activity, such as movie nights, game nights, or other hangouts to develop our bond as members per month, which really helps us get to know each other and be more accepting on the stage.
In less than 1 month, on November 4th at 2:30 p.m. and 6:30 p.m., and November 5th on 2:30 p.m., the high school will be performing 3 one-act plays: Land O' Plenty, a comedy about a boy in an all-girls school; Tracks, a drama about people that all end up together in a subway station under mysterious circumstances; An Absolutely True Story, as told by a bunch of lying liars, a comedy about a family trying to discover the truth about their precious family vase that was broken.
Our auditorium holds about 454 people, and we, over the years, have had the goal to increase attendance to our plays, especially by school staff and students. We have a decent showing of community members and some staff members, but student attendance is extremely low. The last 2 years, we have written and put in each staff member's mailbox a postcard reminding them about the play. This year, we are sending postcards to all businesses who donated to Thespians, a reminder message to share with their staff. We would like to formally invite all of you members of the board to attend the play performances. We also welcome your ideas about how to increase the attendance to the plays by staff and students. We would like to follow up with you another time about any ideas that you may have.
The following week, after the school performances, the Thespians will be traveling to UNI for the State Thespian Festival. We'll be performing An Absolutely True Story for an audience of approximately 300 people. We'll also be performing one scene from Tracks and a scene from Land of Plenty, and we'll be having a student performing a solo musical theater performance. We'll be also having a group of students working on a short film to enter into the contest, and all performances will be judged, and student performers will have the opportunity to advance to the International Thespian Festival in Indiana during the summer. Now, what questions may you guys have?
All right, but before that, one thing that was left off Jesse's sheet there is Audrey Ruff is also going to be running to be a state thespian officer, which means she could potentially have a leadership role on the state board working with thespian students from all over Iowa. So we're very proud of Audrey for taking on that opportunity.
I want to thank all you guys. You guys do a great job. I enjoy coming to your plays, and thank you to Derek and Ann for all your hard work, because you do a lot for our kids. You really do.
So before you guys take off there, question for you.
Yes.
So this goes over the airwaves and other people can hear. If people out here want to donate to the Thespian Troupe, what's the best way to do that?
I would say just contact myself here at the school, or maybe contact the office. Any donations could just be made out to the Thespian Troupe, and then funds would get to the appropriate place. So we certainly appreciate that, because the Thespians itself, we completely fund that through fundraising and whatnot. The school does take care of our annual membership fee to Thespians, but otherwise, when we took this on, we said we will take care of all of the funding for that ourselves, instead of making that a burden on the activity fund and so on. So.
And I too have attended several of the plays and have really enjoyed, and it's good to see the number of kids that are getting involved and the cross-section of kids. So appreciate all your efforts that you're doing there as a group, as the Thespian Troupe, and you know what you're doing to encourage more involvement with speech, with the plays, all the activities. So keep up the good work and keep working together like that. That's a good thing for the rest of our kids in the community to see as they come up.
Thank you.
Okay, move on to items for the November board meeting.
So we'll bring a couple requests again for supplemental state aid, increased enrollment since we are up a little bit, and then English learners beyond 5 years. We do get some extra funding for that too. So those will be on the November agenda, plus the Corey has this letter for plan of action for local jurisdiction. And then I'll probably bring some more information to the board about the community garden once we start having some conversations.
Thank you. With that said, anybody want to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second it.
Motion by Amy, second by Larry to adjourn the meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Meeting adjourned.